There was once a boy who lived in Smyrna, a seaside city in Asia Minor, where the sun lingered long before setting and the wind carried the salt of the Mediterranean. He wasn't fond of noise. He often sat quietly in a corner of the church, listening to an old man with silver hair, eyes full of depth, and a voice that rumbled like a hymn in the soul. The old man's name was Polycarp. He told stories of a great teacher who had once placed his hand on his shoulder, who spoke of the kingdom of God, who healed the sick, and who died on a cross. That teacher's name was John, the beloved apostle of Jesus. And the boy? He listened not just with ears, but with reverence, as though he knew he wasn't hearing a sermon, but an echo of Christ, passed down through voices that had once walked beside him. His name was Irenaeus. Years passed. Irenaeus grew. He left his homeland and journeyed far west, to a place called Lugdunum, now known as Lyon, France. It was a foreign land of pagan temples and unfamiliar gods, where strength and superstition held more sway than truth. He came not with soldiers, not with gold or power, just a small satchel, a writing pen, and a faith handed down from the apostles. When he arrived, the local bishop, Pothinus, had just been arrested and martyred. The Christian community in Lyon trembled in fear. Many fled. Rome wanted to crush the seed of faith in this distant corner of the empire. But amid the chaos and smoke, Irenaeus stood up. He didn't shout. He didn't threaten revenge. He simply picked up his pen and began to write. He wrote to the Roman authorities, pleading mercy for the Christians. He wrote to other churches, calling for unity. He wrote to silence false teachers, not with rage, but with clarity and compassion. One day someone asked him, "Why don't you just remain silent? They have power, they have swords, they have temples and guards, and all you have are words." Irenaeus smiled gently. "But I have when they do not, the truth and the memory of Jesus, and I cannot stay silent while that truth is being twisted." In a quiet room by the glow of an oil lamp, Irenaeus penned the work that made the church listen. Adversus Haereses, against heresies. It was a bold defense against Gnosticism, the rising belief that the material world was evil and that God could never have become flesh. To Irenaeus, that belief was not just incorrect, it was an insult to the mystery of the Incarnation. He had lived long enough to know the human body may be fragile, but it had been the very dwelling place of God. He wrote, "The glory of God is man fully alive, and the life of man is the vision of God." In his final years, Irenaeus was not famous. He didn't seek prestige, but he held on to something far more precious, the fire of the Apostolic faith. He was a candle, not blazing, but steady, a flame that lit a troubled age and kept the church warm through the storm. He died around the year 202, perhaps martyred, perhaps in silence, but no one forgot the voice of the man who had once heard the voice, of the man who had once heard the voice of Christ. And if you listen closely, in a world drowning in noise, where truth is distorted and faith ridiculed, there is still a quiet voice that speaks somewhere in the heart of the faithful. Remember, God did not create the world to be dark. It was sin that dimmed it, but the light is still there, if only someone dares to hold it. His name was Irenaeus, the one who kept the light for a world losing its way.